respected faculty members, Head of the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Dr. Ajitpal Singh, expert speaker, Mr. Ajitpal Singh, faculty members of Mechanical and Civil Department, and dear students, a very good afternoon. So this seminar we are organizing. The topic, the title of that seminar is Learn Startup and Minimum Viable Products and Business. So today, sir will explain how we can open, how we can start our startup, and this is the one field of like as a CSC, mechanical, electrical, whatever. But we can open our business also. So sir will explain what are those ideas. On behalf of City University Engineering, we welcome you, sir, and I would like to invite Dr. Ajitpal, sir, please come.
Kindly, no noise, please now.
First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Arvind Kumar sir, the head of School of Engineering and Department, for his kind words and for welcoming me on the stage. I hope am I audible to all of you? Secondly, I would like to thank the COD of our department, Dr. Jagdeep Singh, for organizing this event or for helping me in the successful completion of this event. Thirdly, I would like to thank my dear faculty of the Mechanical and Civil Department who have kindly agreed to come over here for attending this session, and a warm welcome to all of you. So, today's session is about lean startup and minimum viable product or business. What is actually the meaning of lean startup? First of all, we will discuss it on, and then we'll move forward to the minimum viable product or business. How many of you have ever in your life thought of an idea of a startup or of a self business that you want to start your own business, or that you have had an idea regarding something with raise of your hands? Anyone? I think most of us have some ideas in a lifetime, or you will be having some ideas in your future life as well that you want to start your own business and something. Now, previously what we used to have a traditional approach to startups. Now, what was that traditional approach? Traditional approach to startups was basically about that first we will begin our idea with a prototype, we will plan that idea, and then we continue to get the capital for that, we get the finances for that, and when we have achieved all these desired outcomes, later on we move towards the actual implementation of idea. Am I right? Now, how does lean startup actually differ from the traditional ideas of startups? The very methodology of lean startup is that there is no need to prior implementation of anything. If you have an idea in your mind, if you have anything that you can start, that you can work on, you should be following the methodology of lean startup actually. Now, what is that? If you have an idea, you just need to implement it, and later on you can work on improving it and ameliorating it. Now, what's this lean startup methodology? As per the traditional definition of lean startup methodology, which was coined by Eric Ries in 2009, it states that the lean startup is a scientific approach to creating and managing startups aiming to get a desired product into customers' hand faster. So the main point of lean startup is fast. Everything that we are doing here should be done in a more faster way so that we can distinguish it from the traditional methods of having a startup. How can we do that? If we have an idea, we just need to focus on what the customer actually needs. Okay, am I right? All the startups basically surround towards the customer's need, but in lean startup, the main priority is always given to the need of the customer, and whether according to the need of the customer we can improve or implement that idea or not. For example, let's suppose, how many of you have heard about Amazon? Anyone? Everyone? We all? We all have heard about Amazon, am I right? You must have had some shopping from Amazon sites as well. You must have bought something from Amazon. Now, can any of you tell me how Amazon actually started? What was the beginning point of the Amazon website? Any of you? Anyone who has a knowledge from where the Amazon website actually started? Yes, my dear? Books, am I right? Yes, definitely books. So first of all, Amazon was started from a website which was solely dedicated to the selling and purchase of books. Am I right? But now we all know what Amazon is. It's a multi-billion empire. Okay. So at the very beginning of the Amazon website, what we can call it? We can call it a lean startup, because the owner of the Amazon website solely focused on selling of the books. But as soon as he became more stronger into the business, he started realizing that I can use the same website for multiple other options as well. Am I right? Now, when we order something from Amazon, do they actually have the store for that? Or do they simply purchase it from somewhere else, obtain it from somewhere else, and then deliver it to us? The first one or the second one? The second one. They do have their silos, they do have their stores where they can keep the storage of limited amount, but they are not manufacturing anything. You know, they are just selling one particular thing which I have ordered by getting it from somewhere else. Now, this is basically a wholesome definition of lean startup. The idea was to simply start a website, to simply open a website where people can purchase books. But later it went on developing and developing and developing and become a multi-billion-dollar website with a generating revenue of, I think, more than hundred thousands of dollars each month. Am I right? So what they focused was, they simply focused on the need of the customer. They first sold books, then they realized that apart from selling books, they can have more things on their platform. Am I right? So they had more things on their platform, and that became the original Amazon website that we have. Again, with another example, how many of you have heard about Spotify? Obviously, many of you would have been listening songs on Spotify as well. Now, how many of you have actually taken the membership of Spotify? Literally no one? Am I right? Why do we need the membership of Spotify when we can have the same songs on YouTube for free of cost, or Ghana.com for free of cost, or any other website that we have, any other application that we have? The same methodology was used by the Spotify founders as well. They began with a simple testing website. Let's see, if we develop a website, if we develop an app, will it be applicable, will it be appealing for the customers, or will they be paying, or will they be willing enough to pay for listening to songs? They tested their methodology and they converted it into reality. Obviously, we aren't paying for the songs that we're listening for on the Spotify, but there are hundreds and thousands of other users who are doing so. Am I right? Clear? So this is the lean startup methodology that we have, and this Eric Ries, who was the founder of this methodology, gave us some steps by which we can have our own startups with limited resources without wasting excessive amount of energy, time, money, but still being able to have my own startup. Okay? Now, I'll ask one question to all of you, and I'll not be needing the answer now. I'll require that answer after, when we are about to end the session. Okay? Each one of you think of a startup idea that you might have in your mind, or that you can think of right now. Okay? So when we will be about to end the session, I'll ask you the same question. So what's the idea that you have in your mind? Okay? That idea that you have, I'll be needing an explanation for that, that how can you use that idea for the implementation in the real life with the help of the minimum viable product or business methodology that we have. Clear? From that, moving on to the next part of the lean methodology, what we have is, yes, you must have heard that, okay, I'll give you a statistics. Last year in India only, about 95,000 startups were patented. They were registered, not only patented, they were registered. Patenting is a long process, troublesome process. So around more than 90,000 startups were published in the last year in India. Okay? But how many of them actually succeeded in doing so? Startups सबके पास होते हैं. Everyone has the idea of a startup. Everyone wants to become a business person. But in reality, 90% of the startups actually fail. Why so? Because we focus on only two things. That I have this idea and I want to get it published. मैंने कोई आइडिया सोच लिया और वो मेरा आइडिया जो मैंने सोचा है वो अभी परफेक्ट है. That idea that I have thought in my mind is absolutely perfect and I just need to work on that idea only without even giving any priority to the market conditions, to the customer's thinking, any other factors at all. Second, हमें बचपन से सिखाया जाता है, like मेरी फैमिली, इवन माई फैमिली, माई ग्रैंड फादर यूज टू से, एक देयर इज़ अ मुहावरा इन पंजाबी कि ਜਦੋਂ शेर आਉਂਦਾ है तो पेड़ ते चढ़ना भी आ जाता है. You know, that means when a problem arises, you can find the solution as well. But that doesn't actually happen in real life all the time. Obviously, that can happen in real life around, let's say, 50% of times, 60% of times, but not always. Not always when their share comes, ऐसा नहीं होगा कि आप पेड़ पे चढ़ना भी सीख जाओ और उसी समय वहाँ पे एक पेड़ भी हो. So there is a situation when the problem arises, but we are not able to solve it. And that particular scenario, we fail. You know, so these are the two fundamental things that why do we think startup fail, or why do we need a lean startup methodology? The reason, because uncertainty. We're not even caring about what market actually needs, or what customer actually demands. Most of the people are unaware about that fact. I'll give you an explanation regarding this with the help of an example. How many of you have heard about Tata Nano? Raise your hands, please. Everyone? Most of you guys, specifically those who are living in India, they must have heard about Tata Nano, right? Now, Tata Nano was a brilliant product. You can get a car in just 1 lakh rupees. You know, आजकल तो Activa भी नहीं आती 1 lakh rupees में. You know, you have to spend more than that for that as well. So, Ratan Tata basically gave us a wonderful car that you can purchase in just 1 lakh rupees. But while he focused on the poverty level of the Indian people, that they might be able to get the car, but what they didn't do is they didn't change themselves according to the changing times. When the car was launched, it was a wonderful project. It was a wonderful idea. Most people buy it as well, you know. But with the changing times, they were not able to change themselves according to the requirement of the customers, according to the demand of the customers. What happened at one particular time? After some time, what happened? That Tata Nano completely failed. Now, do we see any Tata Nano car these days running on the streets? No, they're not in trend now. But at the same time, how many of you have heard about MG Windsor EV? Again, raise your hands. Yes, we all have. You know, specifically those who are of mechanical engineering, they must have heard. After all, we are engineers. MG Windsor EV. Now, that's a trending car. Same chassis, same kind of functioning, but what they did different from Tata Nano was they changed themselves with time and they provided those things in the car which people of these days, which people currently need. You know, they have all the facilities, they provided all the features, they provided comfy cushions, they provided a good EV electric motor as well, you know, and add to that at a cheaper rate, you know. And even in Jagrao, in city like Jagrao, from where I belong, it's a very small town. I see 4 or 5 EVs every day over there. Now what's happening is, these companies are changing their mindset, changing the way they manufacture the products according to the need of the customer. Am I right? And that's exactly what a business is. जो समय के साथ नहीं बदलता, वो पीछे रह जाता है. You know, even in our religious scriptures that we learn that a water that is stationary, you know, after some time it start getting mela, ganda ho janda ho. The water that is flowing, that's a pure water. So we need to adapt a strategy by which we can not only change ourselves, but we can also acquire the information that what the market actually needs.
Also, the best example, Nokia mobile.
Nokia mobile phone. Dr. Jagdeep sir has given a wonderful example, Nokia mobile phone. How many of you have Nokia mobile phone these days? Or how many of you have Blueberry mobile phone? Blackberry, sorry, not Blueberry. Blackberry mobile phone. No. Literally everyone, 80% of people are carrying iPhone, including me. How many of you have iPhone 16? I guess Baljot has iPhone 16. I have iPhone 16. Now, why do we have iPhone 16? Why don't I have Samsung? Why don't I have Blackberry? It's because iPhone actually knows what the people need. And what do people need? People need an interactive features loaded mobile phone. They don't need an AI or a chatbot or something. Yeah, they do. But majority of the common people who don't have the understanding of that, they just need simple features so that they can show off in front of their friends like yeah, dekh mera zyada badhiya hai. With the latest software update coming in later September, I think iPhone wal di aur balle balle ho jani hai. Am I right? So that is how do we need to identify the requirements that we have for having a startup. So how lean startup actually differs from the traditional one? That traditional ones actually focus on their product. That I have the product, I want to work on it, no matter what people need or don't need, I have thought about the product, I will launch it into the market. It might work in first year, in second year, in third year, but after some time it gets fail, and that's why do we have the statistics that say that 90% of the startups actually fail. That's why we need lean startup. And the second is just do it. Mostly in my class as well, I tell my students ki bas karo yaar, jara tension nahi laidi hundi, do not overthink, just do it. Even Nike has the same logo, same motto as well, just do it. Now, this seems an appealing philosophy, let's just do it. But in real life, when actual life happens, when you are investing a lot of money on your startups, when you have had a lot of consumption of time, you are giving a lot of time of your life, and that's one life only, am I right? So you cannot simply rely on this philosophy that just do it. We need to have a proper analysis of what my startup actually is and a proper roadmap that where do I have to take it. Clear? Am I right? Now, moving on to the next slide, what we have is the 5 principles of lean startup. Now, what are these 5 principles? First, what Eric Ries says, he has given us 5 principles how we can actually identify whether my startup that I have in my mind will actually work or not. First is very simple, entrepreneurs are everywhere. Am I right or wrong? Yes or no? Yes, guys, yes or no? Shabash. Yes, entrepreneurs are actually everywhere. Why do we know that? How do we know that? Because everyone has a certain idea that he or she might be thinking that I would like to have a startup on this. Clear? Literally everyone. आप किसी से भी पूछ लो, एक ना एक idea तो हर एक के पास होगा. And these days it is very easy to get ideas as well because we have ChatGPT. If you don't have your own idea, you can simply give a command to ChatGPT that give us a unique idea for a startup. It can give you an idea. So we can't say that ideas aren't everywhere. Ideas are everywhere. Even the ideas that I have in my mind are borrowed. They are not authentic, they are not original, they have just come from somewhere else. No thought, no thinking that we have in our mind is authentic, it is original. It's always borrowed. You must have heard somewhere, you must have watched somewhere from where that idea developed. So entrepreneurs are everywhere. But entrepreneurship is management. Now, again, as I said, that 90% of the startups actually fail. Why? Because there are entrepreneurs everywhere, but what we lack is entrepreneurship. We do not know how to manage the idea that I have. Okay, again, I have asked you the question, very first thing, when we started this session, that how many of you have an idea of a startup? Most of you guys have. But what are we lacking, including me? What are we lacking is, we do not know the exact blueprint, exact roadmap for converting that idea into reality. Because we do not know how to manage it. Let's suppose if I have an idea, I want to start my own factory of something, I want my own manufacturing unit. Now, idea is very simple. I want my manufacturing unit. Let's suppose I want to manufacture shoes. Am I right? But how do I do that? Do I know that? First of all, very first thing what I need is, yes guys, I need capital for that. I need money for that. Let's suppose now if I don't have the money, what now? My idea is redundant, complete useless, complete waste. Now if I don't have the money for my startup, what can I do? First problem. Second, let's suppose I got the money. Now, I have sufficient amount of money in my bank. I have 20, 35, 30, 40, 50 lakhs of bank balance. I can easily start. But still, I don't have the roadmap. How? What I don't know? What I don't know is whether the idea that I have, the manufacturing unit that I want to, let's suppose the shoes that I want to manufacture, are saleable. क्या वो बिक भी सकते हैं? लोग उन्हें खरीदेंगे भी? Second, what kind of customers do I need to attract? वो Gen Z में ज़्यादा बिकेंगे, boomers में ज़्यादा बिकेंगे, या millennials में ज़्यादा बिकेंगे? Third, how do I actually sell that? मैंने manufacturing start कर दी. I started my manufacturing. I have it everything. But how do I actually sell that? Do I need to promote that product on social media? Do I need to do that literal flexes and all that for promotional purposes? Even if I did that, last problem, I did all the things, but still, my product is not getting sale. What's the problem now? I don't know that. Why am I not able to attract customers even if I have done each and everything that was discussed? That's how do we lack in traditional startups. And that's why do we have this methodology of lean startups. Now, how to overcome this problem actually? अब इसे overcome कैसे करें? For that, we have three measures. First is validated learning. Second, build, measure and learn. And third is innovation accounting. Now, what these three are? First is validated learning. 2 words, 1 sentence, validated learning. How many of you know the meaning of learning? Very simple. क्या होता है meaning learning का? ऊँची बोल के बताओ मुझे शाबाश. कुछ सीखना. Am I right? Now what is validate? In this today's generation, all we do is to get validations. Am I right? अगर मैं इसको आसान भाषा में समझाऊँ, if I try to explain it in simpler words, let's suppose I am wearing this particular attire. I am wearing a blue shirt, I have tied a blue turban, I am wearing black trousers with that. Now, how do I know that if I am looking attractive or not? If I am looking handsome or not? How do I do that? I just simply look at myself in the mirror and I know that I am looking attractive? Okay, yes. I looked myself in the mirror and I came to know that I am attractive. But what if, let's suppose if I come to the university and someone else say, यार आखिर बन क्या है तू आज? What have you become? Why are you wearing this dull shirt? Why have you matched blue turban with it? You could have worn pink turban or something else. Why are you wearing black trousers with that and brown shoes and brown belt? You know why? Now the confidence that I had when I was looking myself in the mirror is completely shattered because someone else said that you are not looking good. Am I right? This is validation. We don't know about ourselves, we don't know about anything else until or unless we get the validation from others. Now, if we become philosophical about that, validation is a very bad thing. Why do I need to have a validation of something from someone else? When I know that my idea, my attire, my turban, my shirt is completely okay, I'm looking completely fine. I'm looking like a Shah Rukh Khan. You know, why do I need validation for that? Now again, in philosophical terms, it does look good, but in actually, specifically when we are talking about startups and when we are talking about lean startups, we need to have validation for that. Why? Again, because if I don't have the validation from the customer to whom I am actually thinking of selling my product, how can I even expect from that person that he or she will buy my product or not? Or even after spending, what will happen? After having a lot of expenditure, after spending a lot of money, my business will be failing. I'll give you a personal example for that, and that's my own real example to make you understand why do we have to understand validated learning. Okay? So I have done my post-graduation mechanical engineering. Obviously, I'm an assistant professor here. Okay? So after that, I did my job as a project engineer at multiple sites. Later on, me and my family thought of having our own hydroelectric power plant, which we actually developed. It's a fully functioning powerhouse now, generating good amount of electricity, earning good amount of profit as well. But what happened? We were very curious to start our own business. We were very curious to have the hydroelectric power plant no matter what. Very good approach. We should be excited. We should be curious. We should have a burning desire to do something. But what do we miss in this sometimes? When we are completely curious, when we have a burning desire in our mind to do something, we miss certain logical approaches. Now, what we did was, we had a good construction, the powerhouse started generating electricity as well, but within a month, it got damaged completely. It tilted towards the river from which the water was flowing, the canal, towards the gates, floodgates that we have, up to a 30-degree angles around. The complete powerhouse, the building tilted actually. Why? Because in hurry, in curiosity, in excitement, or whatever word that you want to use, what we miss is, we miss the logical approach towards certain things. What happens is, when we are building something, we all require the statistics. So one day there was a heavy rainfall, like the clouds that we have today. It was raining a lot. It was raining cats and dogs actually. So the canal was overfilled, and in our own excitement that we know everything, and my own overconfidence that I know everything, instead of opening the gates that were far away from the powerhouse, I opened the gates which were closer to the powerhouse. Now, I think you all are very intellectual persons. You can imagine that if this gate is open and this is the powerhouse and the water is overflowing in the canal, what will happen? The huge quantity of water is flowing through one particular gate and continuously thirsting, impacting the walls of the powerhouse. Am I right? Which is actually the foundation as well. It damaged the foundation and the powerhouse tilted. Okay? So what we missed here was validated learning. That despite knowing the fact that I know everything, or I have the complete knowledge because I am postgraduate, or because I have had experience in handling the projects, but this does not make my idea that I have validated. Okay? That's why when we're thinking of lean startups, we need a validated learning as well. Clear? Understood? Moving on to the next part, what it is: build, measure, and learn. Okay? I think the three words are clear to all. What is build, measure, and learn? Okay. So this is build. This is actually a loop that we have, in lean startups. First, we build, then we measure, then we learn, and then again towards building. Now, can anyone of you say कि मैंने एक बार ज़िंदगी में कुछ सीख लिया, अब मुझे दोबारा सीखने की ज़रूरत नहीं है? That I have learned something once in my life and now I do not need to learn that thing again because I am, an intellectual, I am an erudite, I know everything. Do we all know everything? No, we don't. Obviously. So very first thing, when I have the idea for startup, what I do is I build. I have built it. Let's suppose, take an example, I am selling pen. Okay, I made a specific website for selling pens only, writing pens. Okay, the first step is clear: build. I have built it. Idea has been implemented. My website is now fully functioning. Pens are there. If I get an order, I can simply sell it. Measure. What's the second thing? Measure. As customers interact with the product, they generate feedback and data which can be qualitative and quantitative. This involves Tracking measurable data like sign-up rates, time spent, or conversions. Now, my website is fully functioning, it's running clearly. Okay, the build part has been done. Now, what I have to measure is whether that website is actually attracting customers or not. How do I know that? How can I find that? I can find that with the help of the footfall. How many persons are actually clicking on that website, are opening that website? We have a specific features for that as well. Am I right, Sukhnur? Yes. What I was saying, that we have done the build part. Am I right? Now we have to measure. Okay. Like my class here, Sukhnur, very intelligent person. He always measures the thing before doing it. Am I right, Sukhnur? Do we have to do that? Yes, we have to do that because that's the holistic approach. Without that, we are nothing. Okay, so I measured the amount, the qualitative and the quantitative approach. Okay, qualitative, likes and dislikes. How many likes am I getting? You watch a video on YouTube, you know what are the likes and what are dislikes. How many people liked it and how many people disliked it. Similarly, if I have my own startup, I can find the data as well. And again, the quantitative approach. Okay, because if I don't do that, how will I be able to know whether the people that I am targeting my product with are actually happy with that or not? Am I right? So after building, what we have to do is we have to completely measure it, and this is not just one time thing. This is a continuous thing. We can't say that okay, last month मैंने measure कर लिया था, इतने थे, इतने नहीं थे, that's it. We can't do that. It should be done continuously every time when we are doing something. Otherwise, again, जैसे मैंने पहले कहा, if the water is not flowing, it gets muddy, it gets dirty, it gets filthy. So I have to keep a continuous, a flowing approach if I am working on a startup. I have to think about the measuring part. Now, build, measure, and last part is learn. Okay, I have had the product built, I have had the measurements done, I know what the likes are, I know what the dislikes are, I know how many people are actually coming to my website, how many people are giving positive reviews to my website, how many people are giving negative reviews to my website. Okay, but what if I leave this thing over here only? I don't actually learn from it. Okay, so let's suppose I am taking your class. As an assistant professor, I am taking your class. Okay, and I taught you something. But some of you actually liked that class and some of you didn't like my way of teaching. Now, if I don't know about this, that okay, 40 people are liking my class and 30 people are not liking my class, the way of my teaching, I will keep on continuing the same method that I have. I will keep on teaching in the same way that I have, that I was already following. Okay, for knowing that whether people are actually liking me or not, if I am being validated or not, the validation learning that we discussed previously. If my website, my product is being validated by the people or not, I have to learn from it. And how do we learn from it actually? Feedbacks. Am I right? Feedbacks are one of the most important ways from which we can decide whether the product that I have made is viable or not. Now, I'll give you a very interesting example for that. We all know Sidhu Moosewala? Yes or no? We all know Karan Aujla and many other Punjabi singers as well. Now, if you have seen from the past few years, what actually is happening is before releasing their original song, the song somehow gets leaked. Am I right or not? Yes or no? Yes? Even recently, I guess Karan Aujla's song got leaked. Does it get leaked or did they actually leak it? How many of you believe that they actually leak it intentionally? Yes or no? Yes, very nice. Very nice people. Yes, they do actually. They do it intentionally. The reason being, can you all tell me the reason? Validation. Okay? So they can have a clear judgment whether this song will actually work or not. If people started abusing, अगर लोग की गालां कटनी शुरू कर देन कि आ कहे जा गाना कटिया, उत्थे खत्म, done. Okay, if people get the curiosity to learn it, likes are rising, clicks are rising, गाने चलते पे सारे किते, ठीक है, उन्हें तो वीडियो बना के कढ़िया जा सकता है. Am I right? Very easy way of knowing things. So from that we come to minimum viable product or minimum viable business. Now what's that? This is the basic definition of minimum viable product as per Eric Ries, the founder of this methodology, is an MVP is defined as the simplest version of a product that solves a real problem for a specific group of users. It includes just enough core features to be usable and valuable, allowing you to quickly test your core ideas and gather feedback without investing a lot of money or time. How many of you know about the beta features? In mobile phones, even software updates, if we have, we sometimes get the beta feature. That's not been available to all the people all over the world, but to just few amount of selected people. Am I right? Now, what happens in that beta version? What happens? They have given all the features that they want to be published, or in the website or anything that they have, or the product that they have. They want those features to be released all over the world, but they are afraid whether these features will be liked by the people or not. Am I right? So what they do is, they simply give us a beta version so that a handful of people, some number of people, can test, can use, can check whether these functions, the features that I have, will be viable. Minimum viable product. Viable is basically usable. Okay, can I rely on that? Viable is a synonym for reliable. Okay, can I rely on that? Are these features reliable or not? So with that beta version, we can simply have the understanding and the feedback. Again, by leaking some lines of the song, I can get the understanding whether this song will be liked by the people or not. That is how an MVP works. Now, I hope you all got the understanding of an MVP. It is an actual product, but not fully being available to all. With all the features that I want to have, each and every facility that I want to give to the people, but at a smaller rate. It is not a replica, it is not a copy, it is exactly the same product that I want to locate, that I want to release in the market, but firstly, I am using it as a testing function so that I can get the understanding whether this will work or not. Am I right? Now, let's do something. Can you all think of one MVP, one minimum viable product? कुछ दिमाग में आ सकता है कि क्या हो सकता है? While we continue the session, think of one MVP that you can, so that when we end this lecture, you can have one startup idea and one MVP, so that we can use both of them together for our future purposes. Am I right? Clear? So MVP is basically a product that I want to sell, that I want to release in the market, but its features are not yet fully developed. I am using it as a testing function so that I can have the understanding whether this will be a viable product or not. Clear? Now, why do we actually need this? What is the main purpose of an MVP? Okay. As per Eric Ries, the first is again idea validation. As we have already discussed, we need to validate our ideas that I have in my mind. Otherwise, if I don't have the complete validation, my ideas are completely useless, despite the fact that for me those ideas are perfect, but those perfect ideas are simply for me. What I assume to be perfect does not mean that the other people will assume perfect as well. Again, if I give you the example of myself, no matter if I think my turban is looking good or my mustaches are good, there might be some people who think that they are flashy, that they are not good. They are a bit twirled too much. You should cut them down. So I can have two approach. First, I can keep on thinking myself that I don't care. I am perfect. I look absolutely phenomenal. and I don't need validation from that. But what would be happening at that time? It might be a situation that I might be making fool of myself. मैं आप खुद बेवकूफ़ बन रहा हूँगा. हो सकदा कि दूसरा ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬੰਦਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਹਿ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਇਹ ਸੋਹਣੀਆਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਦੀਆਂ ਪਈਆਂ, ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਸਹੀ ਕਹਿ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੋਵੇ. You know, because sometimes our perception for ourselves is different rather than the second person's perception for me. You know, for example, if I talk about myself, I always consider that I look like Shah Rukh Khan. Or I am an absolute model. You know, I should be participating in modeling competition or something else. You know, I am the most handsome person in the world. But that cannot be a fact, na? There might be thousands of people who would be thinking कि कमला ज़्यादा हैगा है. You know, की लगता है. Again, so either I can live in delusion. What's the term that you guys use these days? Delulu. Am I right? So Delulu is the only Solulu? No. Delulu is not the always Solulu. We need to overcome that delusion as well, specifically when I am investing lakhs of rupees on my startup and if my life is completely pivoted on that point. Okay? So that's why the main purpose of an MVP is to have validated learning, a validation from the customers, from the people to whom I am targeting my product. Okay? So if I don't have the validation, if I don't have positive validation, then there are chances that my product would not be successful one. How do we do that? How do we actually quantify that? हम उसको judge कैसे करते हैं? There's a term that we use that's called churn rate. Okay? Let's suppose I have my website for shoe selling. Okay? Now, what is churn rate? Churn rate is basically the amount of people who are not using my website now. Okay? Again, let's take an easy example. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have Snapchat. I think those of you who are present in this room, majority of you will be using Instagram as compared to Facebook. Am I right? Yes or no? Yes? Even I myself use Instagram more than Facebook. Why? How do this now Facebook know that my popularity is decreasing? From the churn rate, the number of people that are visiting the Facebook website, they have the data for that. So if the number is less than the original intent that I had, definitely my product is failing. So if my churn rate is more, that means my product is not viable and there are chances that in future it might get failed. I'll give you another example. Let's suppose we all take a hypothetical situation that we all are taking admission in some particular college. Okay? Anything. We're not taking names of any college. Okay? So, 100 of people took admission in one college. 40 of them liked that college and 60 of them did not like that college. Is churn rate higher? Yes. Less number of people are actually liking it, but more number of people are actually disliking it. So, if this churn rate that I have now keep on increasing every month or every year, what will happen? Will my business be able to succeed, survive or not? Yes or no? No, obviously no. Why? Because people were actually disliking the facilities that I am providing, but I wasn't willing to learn from that. I wasn't validating from that. Okay? So that's the reason why most of the businesses actually fail. Clear? Second is feedback collection. Again, same thing. If I have had the learning done, how do I know that whether it will be workable or not? I will be able to know that from the feedbacks that I get from the people. Clear? Third is risk mitigation. Now, every one of you, what is the meaning of mitigation? What do we understand by mitigate? Yes? What do we understand by mitigate? To remove something, to reduce something, khatam karna kisi cheez ko. Am I right? So what is risk mitigation? Obviously, every business has some risks associated with that. Okay? We can't say that my business is risk proof. If anyone is saying that his or her business is risk proof, that means he or she is absolutely lying, because that's not true. No business, nothing in this world is risk proof. Each and everything has its own risks. Even if I am walking on the road, there is always a risk that a car or truck might hit me. Okay? Even if I am in this seminar hall, there is a risk that this ceiling might get collapse. Hope so. इधर ना हो गया. ठीक है? So, risk mitigation. So we have understood the fact that risks are everywhere. There is no chance that if I have started my business, there would be no risk. But learning the fact, I have to work on it. That means I have to mitigate the risk. Okay? So as per the definition, it significantly mitigates investment risk by avoiding the time and the cost associated with the full-scale product development. Now, how lean startups actually mitigate the risk? It not completely mitigate it. It reduces the risks that being involved in my startup, because I am now not focusing on completely on the implementation of idea. I have just focused a little bit on, I have spent a little amount of money on first a kind of prototype for my idea. Okay, so this is how lean startup actually helps in the mitigation of risks. Okay, so instead of spending 25, 30, 40, 50 lakh rupees on one particular business that I thought to be perfect, I simply first spend 5, 10, 8 lakh on a kind of same thing that I want to, by validating it from specific amount of people whether it will be workable or not. So that's why these days majority of the people actually focus on lean startup instead of working on traditional methods of startups. Now, how many of you actually heard this phrase from your family members, from your mother, from your father, that कि बेटा शुरुआत तो थोड़ी तो ही होती है? Yes, am I right? We all have, you know. My mother always say, when I sometimes lose my patience, my mother always says कि बेटा शुरुआत थोड़ी तो ही होती है, थोड़ा थोड़ा करके बंदा आगे बढ़ता रहता है, you know. So if I take the example of a ladder, अगर मैं ਉਹਦੇ ਪਹਿਲੇ 2, 3, 4 ਸਟੈਪਸ ਛੱਡ ਕੇ ਸਿੱਧਾ 5ਵੇਂ ਸਟੈਪ ਤੇ ਜਾਣ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਾਂ, what will happen? I'll fall, you know. ਬੜੀ ਬੁਰੀ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਡਿੱਗੂਗਾ ਮੈਂ. That's why lean startup actually helps. Minimum viable businesses actually help, because instead of spending huge amount of money, instead of spending huge amount of resources, my time on one particular thing that I assume to be perfect, I'm not doing that. I am focusing the lean startup method, and I am just using small amount of time, small amount of money for that same product. Okay? Baby steps that we call in English. थोड़े थोड़े steps लेके बंदा ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਅੱਗੇ ਵਧਦਾ ਆ, ठीक है? So instead of taking a huge leap forward, what we do is we take small steps and work on the product and the idea that we have. Okay? So let's suppose if any of you have any idea regarding a business. Uday, do you have any idea regarding a business, any startup that you want to do? Yes? Farming. Okay, let's suppose Uday wants to do farming. Very random idea, nothing. Now, how do we assume this farming business that he wants to have according to the lean startup or the minimum viable business, that the methodology that we are learning? So, can I say that if Uday wants to start a business of farming, he simply first of all buys 50 acres of land, spend crores of money on, you know, whatever the farming equipments we need and all that, and after that we came to know that कि यार ये वाला ਜਿਹੜੀ मैं फसल ਬੀਜਤੀ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਲੈ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਿਹਾ, you know, ਜਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਚੋਂ 80% ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਫਸਲ ਹੈਗੀ ਉਹ ਖਰਾਬ ਹੋ ਗਈ, which actually majority of our farmers actually face the situation. So if he wants to work on a farming business, what he can do for the time being, he can start from small, from a small amount of land with a small amount of money, and he can get that tested whether the thing that I am, you know, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੈਂ ਖੇਤੀ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ, ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੈਂ ਜ਼ਮੀਨ ਲਿੱਤੀ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ. ਐਂਡ ਇਫ ਆਈ ਗੈਟ ਟੂ ਨੋ ਦੈਟ ਇਟ ਇਜ਼ ਸਕੇਲੇਬਲ, ਕਿ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਵਧਾਇਆ ਜਾ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ, ਦੈਨ ਓਬਵੀਅਸਲੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਯਾਰ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਡੀ ਤੋਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ, ਅੱਜ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ 10 ਗੱਡੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਯੂ ਨੋ. ਸੋ ਦਿਸ ਇਜ਼ ਦ ਫਿਲੋਸਫੀ ਦੈਟ ਵੀ ਹੈਵ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਫਰੋਮ, you know, hundreds of years. But yeah, there comes an Englishman who thought that we should be naming it lean startup and minimum viable productive businesses. Okay, next, moving on to learning. I think we have already discussed it about sufficiently. We all know now what learning is. Learning is simply the feedback, the data collection that we are having from our customers to whom we are targeting the product so that we can have a better understanding that whether my product is viable or not. Clear? Next, speed to market. Now, what speed to market actually is? Okay, there's a very beautiful word that actually I wanted to discuss at the end of the session, but I think we have to discuss it now. In lean startups and whatever we are discussing today, there is a philosophy that there is a word that we discuss often, and that is fail faster. You know, fail faster. Now, have you ever heard someone saying that if you are starting your business and someone saying to you that fail faster? Have you ever heard someone saying to you, okay, let's suppose I am starting my own business and there comes a person with very intellectual person, and he says, okay, beta, you're starting your own business and my recommendation to you is fail faster. What does actually mean? कि जे फेल होना या तो छेती फेल हो जाओ. You know? Now, it might look a negative term, but it actually is a very positive term. Fail faster. Why? Because from the build, measure, learn loop, what I learned was, okay, I built something, I measured the outcome, and I learned that 80% of the people are actually not liking my product. Am I right? So do I need to be stubborn at that time? कि मैंने उत्थे जिद्दी होने की लोड़ है कि नहीं यार ये तो कमले ने मैं तो बेचूंगा ही बेचूंगा. मेरे तो कोल आवला आइडिया आया, मतलब मैं तो यही वाला सेटअप करना ही करना, जो मर्जी हो जाए, है ना, जट दी अड़ी है, हुण तो यही करूँ, ठीक है. But it doesn't happen actually. When we have found the outcome that 80% of the people are not liking my product, that there are chances that the business that I am thinking of, the product that I am thinking of selling, might actually fail. So instead of elongating that time, कि मैं उन्होंने होर लंबे समय तक बढ़ावां 4 साल 5 साल 6 साल 7 साल ते 8 सालां दी 10 सालां दी मेरी मेहनत, my hard work of 8 years 10 years, my hard work, and not in just hard work, my money that I have spent, and after 10 years I come to know about the fact that कि नहीं ये तो यार बंद हो जाना, ये चलदा नहीं पिया. So वो ज़्यादा better है या दूजे साल ही मैं उन्होंने बंद करदा, वो ज़्यादा better है? Obviously the second one. Fail faster. So if I know that I would be failing, जब मैंने पता लग ही गया, if I have come to know the fact that I might be failing in this business or the product that I have, then it's better to fail faster than unnecessarily elongating that time. I'll give you another example for that. We all know about Al's business. Am I right? I think majority of you wanted to go to Canada, Australia, America or something. Even me. We all have thought at some point. 1 year, 2 years ago, the Al's business was completely at its peak. Am I right? Absolutely at its peak. Even a mediocre Al's center was earning huge amount of money very easily, without even putting any efforts, without ever putting any efforts regarding promotions, branding, or attracting customers, nothing. Because customers वैसे ही आ रहे सीगे. Literally every person, every young guy, every young girl in Punjab wanted to go to Canada specifically and other countries by doing Al's. I lit, as some of you might know. Okay? But then what happened? There was a sudden change in rules and all that, and the business that was completely at its peak fell. And it doesn't fall gradually, it fell sharply. You know, there was a sharp decline in the Al's business, and I think if I talk about my city, if there were 100 Al centers, I think only 10 or 15 are surviving. Only because they might have huge capital, they can survive by their own, they don't need to get the money from other world. But those who depended on the customers, they failed. Okay? So that's why when we know that we might fail, it's better to fail faster than unnecessarily elongating the time, the resources and the money that I have on a business that is about to fail. Okay? So now we have had the startup idea. I think मैं ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ, do think of one startup idea that you have. Then I told you think of one MVP regarding that कि उस आइडिया ਨੂੰ मैं छोटे स्केल ਤੇ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ, how can I start the same idea at a smaller scale without expending huge amount of money. Now we come to a third point after all this discussion and learning and all that, that whether that idea will succeed or not. Okay, we need to understand that, and if again we know that it's working, we can have the scalability, we can scale it properly, otherwise we can simply abandon that idea. Okay, and there is nothing wrong in abandoning the ideas when we know that they might not be working. Clear? Now, so a great philosophy for fail faster. We were discussing the yes. Now, coming to how do we actually know all these things, whether the thing that I have in my mind. There are three key ways for that: establishing the baseline, tuning the engine, and to either pivot or preserve. Now, establishing the baseline. Baseline is very clear. I have established my baseline that I want to do this, and I have had the understanding, I have got the feedback that it might work. Okay? Now, second thing is tuning the engine. Again, raise your hands. How many of you know what tuning the engine is? I think there might be some car freaks in my session. Those who know that we do tuning to the engine. Okay, so let's suppose I have bought a particular car with a particular specifications of engine, but I am not satisfied with that. Okay, again, customer, the one that I am targeting my product, is not satisfied with that. What I do is, if from the vendor, the person from whom I am buying the product, is not willing to change the product according to my requirements, what I do is I tune my engine myself. There are many agencies, there are many places where I can get my car and get the engine tuned, and I think we have a lot of features as well these days by which we can do that. Am I right? So again, if we take this same philosophy for the business purposes, for the startup purposes, we have to tune the engine as well. Engine is my startup, and how do I tune it? I have to keep tuning it according to the needs of the customers. Okay. Thirdly, what we have is pivot or preserve. Two words, very beautiful meaning. What is the meaning of preserve? Anyone? Uchi bol ke daso. Preserve. Yes. What's the meaning of preserve? बचाना. ठीक है. What's the meaning of pivot? No one? No one of you have watched Friends on Netflix? Leave it. Very lame joke then. Pivot is basically a point from where I change my direction. Okay? Let's suppose I am standing here, and this is my pivot point. That means when I reach this pivot point, I either move ahead or I move backward. Obviously, I have to move backward because if I move ahead, I might be falling over here. Okay? So the third terminology that we have is pivot or preserve. Again, after having the baseline, after having the understanding of the tuning of the engine, despite doing all that, again I have to come to a logical point that whether I have to pivot it or I preserve it. That means if the customers are satisfied with the product that I have, if I am getting a positive response, if my churn rate is less, that means there is no need to change anything else. I can preserve my idea and keep on implementing the same thing again and again. But again, if I am thinking that the customers are not responding well, there is a negative response, I have to pivot it. I have to change it. Clear? Understood? So this is how do we actually identify the main problems and work on the implementation of them in real life. Now, since we were talking about tuning the engine, am I right? How do we tune the engine? There are some methods for the growth of engine. Engines of growth. Okay? The engine of growth is the mechanism that startups use to achieve sustainable growth. What is sustainable? What is the meaning of sustainable growth? That means a growth that can sustain, a growth that can survive despite the ups and downs. Okay? Clear? Now, what are those engines of growth? There are 4 ways by which we can judge and we can decide whether my product, my business is in the mechanism of growth or not. The first one is word of mouth. How many of you know about word of mouth? I think we all know. Specifically, let's suppose you have taken admission in this university, and obviously you are finding it very well. You are happy with the environment, with the teaching of this university. Then you would be responding positively to the person who would ask the same question कि मैंने इस जगह ते admission लेनी चाहिए या नहीं चाहिए. That is what we call word of mouth. Second, we have as a side effect of product usage. Now, you might have seen that in some cases, let's suppose if I am using Instagram, there are some social media reels which unnecessarily get viral without even having any sufficient or good quality content in that or not. Okay, so it happens naturally. We are not the ones who are in control of this, it happens naturally. So obviously if it is viraling, if my product is getting viral, that means I am happy to satisfy, to preserve it, and there is no need to pivot it. Third, through funded advertising and through repeat purchase or use. Again, the last method that I think we all implement and then we have to implement is purchasing. Okay, we have to spend money on actually promoting the product, because we cannot simply rely on the word of mouth and on the viraling occasions, because these are not in my control, and the things which are in my control is that I can have the paid promotions, as I think we all do these days. Even the Instagram influencers, even everything that we see on Instagram pages and social media pages, any product that I have is basically being paid, promoted, so that it can reach to its specific customers, or it can identify the targets. Okay, I won't take much of your time now. I think you all guys are getting bored. But lastly, these are the common MVP development mistakes that we have to avoid. Now, obviously, if I am focusing on my MVP, again, I am not saying that I am the perfect one here. Obviously, I would be making some mistakes. So they have already identified the mistakes that we can make, so that we can already avoid them without, again, committing by themselves. First is confusing minimum with low quality. Okay, so when I say minimum viable product, I does not mean that my product is of low quality. As I have already told you, my product is exactly similar to the actual product that I want to release in the market, but I am, for now, for the time being, I am releasing it for a specific amount of people. Second, confusing viable with perfect. Again, I have, I think, already explained you the definition of viable. Viable is reliable. It is not perfect. I am not saying it is perfect, it is reliable. That means the customers can rely on them. Obviously, if it has been perfect, there was no need to pivot it or preserve it. It is a constant learning that I have to do. Okay. Thirdly, trying to serve everyone. This is a very important thing that we have in lean startup, that there is no need to serve everyone. Again, because this is an MVP, so I would be choosing a specific amount of people to whom I can release my product and have a better understanding. Lastly, skipping validation. Again, I think we have already discussed much of validation, that it is important to validate the products, because without the validation, without the understanding of the other person's need, I am not able to be in the position of judgment to decide whether my product is scalable or an absolute fail. Clear? Now, what are the key takeaways that we get from what we have learned so far? The very first key takeaway is there is a process to entrepreneurship that can be learned. We have already discussed that entrepreneurs are everywhere, but it is important to learn to manage that entrepreneurs are everywhere, but entrepreneurship is not everywhere. So, to be a successful entrepreneur, to be a successfully able to start and to survive my business, I have to be able to successful in entrepreneurship and in management as well. This is the first takeaway that we learn from lean startups. Secondly, the goal of the startup is to figure out the right thing to build, the thing that customers want and will pay. Again, I think we have already discussed. Yes, guys, would you like to explain something to me? Do I come with a mic over there? Okay, the second takeaway that we have is to figure out the right thing not according to me, but the right thing which is according to the customers. Because the thought that I might have, a perfect thought that I might have in my mind, does not mean that it would be attractive and appealable to customers. Okay? The third is customers do not tell us what they want. Now, this is a very important thing to learn in lean startups, and specifically those who are actually willing to have their own startups, those who are willing to start their own businesses. It is always something that customers do not tell directly what they want. Customers either show us in some different ways in the reactions that they have. Now, obviously, let's suppose if you go to any shop for buying something, let's suppose you have gone to a clothing store for buying a specific shirt, but you did not like the service of that particular store. Now, would you directly say to the person's mouth कि मैंने तेरा store पसंद नहीं आया? No. There is always a reaction to that. That reaction would be my facial expression can change. My feedback to that particular store towards the other people might change. मैं चार बंदों को हो जाके कह सकता हूँ कि this store is not good, so you have to go somewhere else to buy it. Okay. Thirdly, test and validate your value and growth hypothesis. Again, it is obviously imperative to not only build, measure, but to keep on learning, and that learning always happens from the feedback of the people, the customers that I am targeting. Okay. Lastly, we have to use MVPs to cycle through the build, measure, learn, feedback loops as fast as possible. As I have already told you, that there is a build, measure, and learn feedback loop that we have to continuously follow, because after building, let's suppose I am measuring something and I am learning from it. But let's suppose if I have stopped my learning over there and I have not decided to continuously work on that again, that means there might be chances that I would be lagging behind as compared to the other businesses. Okay, I'll give you a very interesting example for that. Now, there was a time when TikTok was very popular. Am I right, my dear? Yes, am I right? What did I say? I said that there was a time when TikTok was very popular. Am I right? Yes, very nice. Okay. But then the government decided to ban it. Again, yes. What happened at that time? There was another social media application, Instagram, which quickly grabbed on that opportunity and gave us reels. Am I right? I think we all scroll reels nowadays. We all do doom scrolling. I think reels are the most important part of our lives these days. Without watching reels, we cannot wake, we cannot go to washrooms, we cannot sleep. All we do is completely scroll reels, and I think that's what we call doom scrolling. At the same time, another example, we will compare these two things. At the same time, there was Twitter. Am I right? Again, you all know what Twitter is. Okay. Now, there was some issue that when the owner of the Twitter changed, Elon Musk hired and something else, vagara, vagara. Okay, we don't go into that. The same social media platform, Instagram, Facebook actually, Meta, introduced another Twitter-like application named Threads. Am I right? Now, looking into these two examples, Instagram Reels and Threads, both exactly a replica of two already functioning applications. Reels, TikTok, Threads, Twitter. Am I right? But Reels got very popular, but I don't think anyone's using Threads, which is exactly a copy of Twitter. Similarly, Reels is exactly a copy of TikTok, but Reels got popular. Instagram even gained more subscribers, but no one's asking about Threads. No one even cares about Threads. No one's using them. What's the reason behind that? What's the reason? Because in one term, they looked at the MVP. They looked at the lean startup. They focused on the build, measure, learn philosophy, while for the same other thing, they completely avoided it. Okay? What they did was, they grabbed the opportunity because they knew the customers actually wanted it. Thousands and thousands of customers actually wanted a platform like TikTok where they can scroll reels or where they can make videos and all that. With the concluding note, I would like to say, I hope that you all understood the importance of lean startup and the minimum viable product. For sure. Now, any one of you willing to share their ideas about lean startup? Any one of you, if you have any idea regarding startup of your own? Or how can we judge whether it can be an MVP or not? Or you are bored enough that you just want to leave? Yes or no? I think yes. Yes, sir. Yes, I know. I won't be taking much more time now. So, guys, thank you so much. I hope I didn't bore you actually. I hope you understood and enjoyed the session. Thank you.